Last night, I attended a local author reading. This gentleman is just nationally pretty well respected, very well known within the young adult and middle grade genres of fiction. And basically, he was just doing a thing where he came to one of our libraries here and just basically talked for about 90 minutes about his projects, his process, and just fielding a bunch of questions from the audience. And one of the things that I picked up from last night that I want to share with you all is this idea that as writers, we are often very introverted. Most of us that write, just by the nature of it, I don't know what it is about writing in general that attracts introverts, but many introverts make up the writing realm. And one of the things that I picked up from him was this idea that your network is going to play a big factor in how you progress, right? In how you get recognized. It's a very difficult thing to hear, especially for me, because networking is like the weakest area of anything that I do, easily. And knowing that a lot of what you do and a lot of your talent can be very good, but unless you make those kind of connections, it's going to be very difficult to kind of make your way in this business. And so I want to encourage you all to try and expand a little bit more within your realm. So whether that's just meeting more people for like critique groups, whether that's, finding like local authors basically in your area and just simply connecting with them, whatever it might be. Maybe it's just sending an email to an author that you really like. Maybe you're like, oh, I really like this story, and you send them just a general email just as a fan, right? Outreaching and practicing to do that is a super important skill. And it's not something that this gentleman even said consciously, like he didn't even bring it up, but it was just the subtext of what you could get from what he was talking about. This person here was 75, and they've been writing for a lot of decades, and they talked about how close they were with their agent, with their editor, about them going to dinner with different editors basically, and trying to make a pitch for their next stories, and about how much what he does relies upon connections, about how much of his success is based around that. And so I want to encourage you to kind of consider that idea. Consider that you may need to expand a bit more. You may need to outreach a little bit more, kind of grow something of a network here. Make yourself more well known. I talked yesterday about how I think the greatest author is probably of our generation is probably someone who's undiscovered right now, who just is not sending work off or what have you. And perhaps it's the greatest writer of our generation is undiscovered because they haven't networked, because they haven't found the connection yet to have their work sent out. Perhaps getting through the slush pile has been difficult for whatever reason. And that instead they need to make a broader connection to kind of get around that. It's true of any industry. It's true of anything, right? Most people get jobs nowadays, that are more higher up because they have connections, because of who they know. It's just it's an element of it. And this industry is no different, unfortunately. It's not a straight meritocracy where the best stories are getting sent out and they're going through and they're picking the strongest ones. More consideration for stories is given to those who have some sort of personal connection. It's logical, right? If I happen to know some agent personally and I get them a story that's really good, they're more likely to take at least a little bit of time to look at it. They're going to give it more than just a passing glance that maybe a cold response might get from an agent, right? Same thing as you go further up the chain, right? The more connections you make with editors, the more they might be inclined to take on your next project. Yes, often the process, even as you get big, still is one of basically like auctioning in a sense, where you find your agent brings it to a bunch of different editors and says, hey, listen, are any of you interested? And they all perhaps either do the kind of auction style thing where they all make a pitch for it. That does happen. Or More of it might just be, they reach out to 6 editors that they know, and are any of you interested? And you might get a couple responses, and you can kind of sort of play that off in a sense, like one against the other in a way. It's a sort of business tactic. But the point is, it's connections, right? None of this, what I just said here, has to do with reaching out to people you don't know. All of what I just said is connected, right? Like so-and-so knew so-and-so, so-and-so knew so-and-so. And building that connection up is paramount. And so what I'd encourage you to do is start thinking about that. Start thinking about people you can reach out to locally and kind of grow that connection. What writing organizations can you mesh with, right? So something to consider, something to think about. And so with that, I'll wrap it up here, and I will see you all tomorrow.